With the draft coming up, it shockingly isn't getting that much attention, but there's a reason for that. Many have reported that this is one of the most underwhelming drafts in recent history alongside 2013. However, even in 2013, there were still legends to be made, such as Giannis, Rudy Gobert, and Steven Adams. So what's in store for this draft? Even in a diminished class, one right piece could make a world of difference for a team, and the draft is so uncertain that picks can fluctuate so much, making someone expected the third pick drop all the way into the teens or even the 20s and vice versa. So let's go through Bleacher Report's mock draft and give a grade on each decision they think teams are going to make. Starting off with the number 1 pick for the Hawks, Bleacher Report actually has Zachary going first. I like this selection a lot. A lot of Sarr's success was based around Wemby hype and hoping that he would be another version of him. But the more we see of Sarr, the more we see that isn't the case, and he's more of an off-brand Wemby that's riding off of his size. Zachary fits the Hawks a lot more, being a 3-and-D player that has a good comparison to Franz Wagner. With the Hawks already having 2 point guards in DeJounte and Trey, they need more off-ball players, and they can sculpt Zach into a good third option off-ball player. Again, similar to Franz with Banchero. This pick gets an A-. Next, we have the Wizards. And the Wizards, like the Pistons, need to just take the best available player. While I said that Sarr is a bit overrated, he's still probably the best pick. Sarr can be best compared to Evan Mobley, giving the Wizards an identity that looks more like the Cavs, but they would still need to upgrade the guard spot after Poole decided to drop off a cliff with his stats. This puts the Wizards in a similar situation to the Spurs, getting a big but needing a guard to fully maximize him. But the Wizards would get massive backlash for not picking Sarr at 2 and leaving him available for another team that could have the guard duo or development potential. So this pick is maximized more on the basis of taking Sarr away from others that could use him instead of the basis of having him themselves. All in all, that makes this pick a solid B. At the third pick, we have the Houston Rockets. Bleacher Report predicts that they will make a 3-team trade in order to obtain Brandon Ingram. Whether this trade actually goes through, we'll see. But this trade makes sense since the Rockets' most vulnerable position right now is Brandon Ingram's position, with him averaging about 20.8 points per game. And most of their players are veterans right now as well. While the Rockets could upgrade their point guard spot from Van Vliet, it doesn't make much sense to draft a point guard like Reed Shepherd and take the time developing him with all the other vets on the team. Instead, all these veteran players can play together with their skill sets and develop team chemistry in order to be puzzle pieces to a winning team. For the Rockets, this is a B- trade. As for the Hornets and Pelicans, it's a C+ at best, and maybe even an F at worst. Again, this draft is more mediocre, so it makes more sense to save your assets to trade up in a better draft instead of trading up right now. On top of that, the Pelicans get Miles Bridges with all of his negative press. Dealing with that mess, along with Zion's inability to stay on the court, is a recipe for disaster and disapproval from the fans. At the fourth pick, Bleacher Report has another trade that doesn't make much sense. Instead of working on the rebuild, the Spurs bring in a bunch of veteran players in order to speedrun a winning roster. In return, the Grizzlies get a pick and Keldon Johnson. The Grizzlies already have a playoff team even if they lose in the first few rounds. Everyone this year has just been injured. What the Spurs really need is a good point guard to put next to Wemby so that they can develop together. Their best bet would be to get either Reed or Castle, and with both picks, maybe one falls and they can get both. But this trade is a D on both sides. It makes no sense even if the Spurs are trying to get rid of Keldon. They would trade him for more picks, not Marcus Smart, and someone averaging under 8 points a game. At the fifth pick, the Pistons select Mattis. This is a perfect pick for them. Even if it's not enough to make them a playoff threat, it's at least enough to keep them from being the laughingstock of the NBA for so long. One of my highest viewed videos on this channel was an analysis of how Marvin Bagley III fits so well behind Cade, and later, the Pistons proceeded to trade him away. In the process, they did get Bogdanovic, who's averaging 20 points per game, but it just isn't the same. They still need another big to set up Cade with alley-oops and pick and rolls, which Marvin Bagley III did with Cade perfectly. Mattis also averages a lot of steals and blocks to help on the defensive end. The question is, how much better will their coach be this year, and will they be able to use this pairing and development to its full potential? So I give this trade a B+, because at the end of the day, it will rely on the coach and development team. However, it has the means to be an A- or even an A+ draft pick. At the 6th pick, Bleacher Report has another trade, and it seems very one-sided. For the Pelicans, it does make sense to trade the pick away since they don't need another point guard after CJ McCollum. What the Pelicans need is a big to be a good 6-man or start when Zion is injured. However, giving it to the Knicks doesn't make much sense. The Knicks almost made it to the conference finals this year with Brunson, so they don't need another point guard either, especially a rookie that they would need to develop. What the Knicks need is another big, one like Porzingis that they did have but didn't work. They need another center or power forward that can work well with Brunson, just like Siakam with Halliburton that they went up against. So for both teams, this trade would be a C max. At the 7th pick, the Trailblazers have Cody Williams, being the younger brother of Jalen Williams. This could be a lot of potential. The Thunder have shown a lot of success with their team, and perhaps the Trailblazers want to build something similar to that, even if it takes a while to develop Scoot into an SGA mold given that he was sent to the G League after being selected at the 2nd pick. But the Trailblazers need to make the best pick besides a guard since they have Scoot, so this forward wing player may just fit right in. It all depends on what the ceiling is and if they can hit it. Otherwise, they'll end up just like the Pistons. So this is a C+ to B-. At the 8th pick, we have Dalton Knecht to the Spurs. Now I would have much preferred for the Spurs to get a point guard rather than a shooting guard, but he can still space the floor with his shot making, and he can use his body to get shots in the paint when needed. While the Spurs won't really need him to score in the paint given Wemby. His biggest weakness is his defense, but again with Wemby and Sohan, that won't be too much of an issue. The Spurs also have one of the best development camps ever that can train that defense. The biggest problem would be working on Knecht's court vision on an NBA stage, especially since again the Spurs need playmaking in a proper point guard right now. Overall, this is a good pick, especially at 8th, but it could be better. I would much prefer Castle or Reed. B+. At 9, Bleacher Report has the Bulls coming off of a trade for the 9th pick from the Spurs, which originated from that Marcus Smart trade that we mentioned earlier. For the Bulls, this could be a decent pickup in Devin Carter, especially after trading Caruso. The team needs to make up for the defense. Carter is averaging 1.8 blocks currently and 1 steal, but he has a high turnover ratio, which will need to be worked on. The owner of the Bulls also seems very content, which may put a hindrance on everything since they don't want to work for anything. However, Carter is a guard, which the Bulls also don't really need right now. They have Kobe White as one of their top scorers and just got Josh Giddey in the Caruso trade. Maybe he can be developed into another piece alongside White, but it seems unnecessary to get another guard rather than another big. As for the Spurs, they could use the pick on a guard like Carter as mentioned earlier, but in this hypothetical trade they also get a 2025 first round, which could potentially have a higher ceiling given this mediocre draft, giving both teams a B- in this trade. At 10, finally in double digits, is Ron Holland to the Jazz. This is a decent fit. Holland isn't crazy talented, but he fits the Jazz. They already have a decent guard in Colin Sexton, and putting Holland at small forward can move Lowry to the 4. There are also reports that Lowry might not stay long with the Jazz, and so the forward spot is still taken care of if that happens. Nothing crazy, but still one of the better picks that they could make. B+. At 11, we have a very good pick for the Spurs, with Rob Dillingham. With this pick, the Spurs get a guard like I've been mentioning all video, and in this hypothetical mock draft, Marcus Smart would expedite the development of whatever guard we pick as a veteran player. Dillingham plays at a fast pace and through contact, which the Spurs need, beating the boring stereotype. He also has an excellent three-point shot, which again spaces the floor and adds shooting that the Spurs need. If the Spurs get him this low and develop him, it's a solid A- pick. At 12, the Thunder pick up Salon. The Thunder are just one piece away from being in the finals, and while many may think that bringing in a vet would solve that, they've shown success with their young talent. so using their pick however they see fit may be the best bet for the Thunder. With Salon being multi-dimensional in his shooting and defense, he can be plugged in for that piece wherever the Thunder may need him. At 13, the Kings take Jacoby at small forward. This could be a really good pick to flesh out the roster and add some depth if he remains on the bench, seeing as the Kings already have their guards and a power forward in Sabonis, so they could plug him in at the 3 with some good 3 and D tools to push past the play-in spot. This could be a B+ to an A- pick depending on how they use him. At 14, Bleacher Report predicts the Trailblazers pick up Kayshawn. They even admit themselves this isn't great, but it's the best they'll probably get. What the Blazers really need is a wing, as stated before, so they'll just have to go with the best pick and the nearest thing to a wing there is. It's not an amazing pick, but again, the best that they can get, so it's a C+. At 15, the Heat are picking Topic. Given his injury, his draft stock has dropped a lot. Taking the buy low, sell high approach for him could work for any team, as I don't think he deserves to drop this far. With Tyler Hero now being in the starting lineup, Topic for the time being can be the new 6-man and add depth to the bench, especially at the guard position. However, it may be an exhausting task to develop the rookie while still contending in the playoffs. At 16, the 76ers pick up Tristan D. Silva. Any small forward would be good for the 76ers, veteran or rookie. The 76ers have Embiid at center and Maxey at point guard. Any small forward bridges the gap between the two. He is also developing a bit of a three-point shot which can help space the floor as well. At 16th, it isn't anything crazy to be too excited for, especially in this draft, but for the 76ers, it's a good fit. B+. At 17th, the Lakers get Zach Edey. Despite being a poor man's Shaq, Zach Edey is very low rated and mediocre, as he isn't groundbreaking for any team even at his size, and he failed in the combine. However, the Lakers are reported to want to get size and another big person for the team, and if that's the goal, especially with Anthony Davis injured, he at least matches what they say they want to look for. As for it actually working for the team, we'll see. Having too many big players may be a problem and crowd the paint. We already saw how things with Westbrook went. So this is a B-, but potentially only a C+. At 18th, the Magic pick Jared McCain. His shooting helps space the floor and build off the rest of the roster's weaknesses. This could be a really good pick, but that comes with the caveat of developing him with the rest of the team as they're already in the playoffs. But his ceiling with the team is big as a role player, both on and off ball. So this could be a B+, but leading into an A-. At 19, there aren't many options left, especially in this mediocre draft, but the Raptors are expected to pick Carlton Carrington. What they need is a point guard, and this is the best available this low in the draft, to put around Scotty Barnes. His playmaking and shooting can help space the floor and be a good match around Scotty. B+. At 20, the Cleveland Cavaliers pick Johnny Furthy at small forward. This works for the Cavs as they still can't decide if they're going to keep their guards or not. So whether they do or not, a small forward selection fits both directions the team goes, being between the guards at 1 and 2 and Mobley and Allen at 4 and 5. A small forward fits in right in the middle at 3. But if they do decide to break up the guards, he can easily move down from a small forward to shooting guard to develop more there and help the team. A-. At 21, the Pelicans pick Yves. With Zion's injuries and inability to stay on the court, picking up another center, especially Yves this low, is a really good selection. This could even be a solid A, if not an A-. At 22, the Suns are projected to pick Tyler Kolek. Now this can be looked at two ways. Either it's a horrible choice to get another guard with Booker and Beal on the team being awful together, or the Suns are taking the opportunity that they have with both guards on their team to develop this draft pick before blowing it up with this terrible pairing. If they take the second route, using the guards to develop their future, then cut their losses, this could be a good pickup. B- to B+. At 23, the Bucks get Jalen Tyson. Given that the Bucks are probably losing Brook Lopez soon and are constantly needing more depth at the big end of the floor behind Giannis, such as Bobby Portis, and picking up people like Jay Crowder or PJ Tucker, it could be good to develop this pick into some bench depth at the 4. C+ to B-. At 24, there's yet another trade that makes no sense, with Pelicans trading this pick to the Celtics. The Celtics just won a championship. They don't need to trade up in this mediocre draft. On top of that, the Pelicans need everything that they can get. If this trade went through, it would be a D for both teams. At 25, the Knicks pick up a center in De'Aaron Holmes II. It isn't the greatest big, given that it's the 25th pick, but it's still in the first round. And again, the Knicks need a big as another piece, and this is the best available. He is very small for a center at 6'9", but he has a similar unicorn build to Porzingis, having defense and a three-point shot, putting him at an even B. At 26, the Wizards have another pick that they can utilize. At 26, there aren't too many options, but considering that they're already getting Sarr at 2, they need a guard to fill out the rebuild as stated before. In the first round, there's only 2 point guards left with Isaiah and KJ Simpson, with Isaiah being the clear choice. It'll take a lot of work to make this team into playoff contention anytime soon, but getting 2 first-round picks at opposite ends of the floor definitely gives them a good start. A-. At 27, the Timberwolves have Terrence Shannon Jr. As explained in my Gobert trade video, the Timberwolves' biggest problem is creating more offensive opportunities on the short end, as well as having defense on the short end. Adding a shooting guard, even just as a rookie, could help a lot, especially seeing the success of Derek Lively for the Mavs. This is a solid A pick. At 28, the Nuggets get Kyle Filipowski. With the Timberwolves being built around being the Nuggets, this could be another piece to add depth just like Aaron Gordon, with Kyle playing power forward and center, in order to get through teams that have superior size and defense like the Timberwolves. Another solid A pick, making both the Timberwolves and Nuggets upgrading their weaknesses from the playoffs in order to beat the teams that they lost to. At 29, the Jazz pick up another shooting guard small forward of Paulcom Dadit. The pick is basically the same as the last Jazz pick, doubling down. However, since they're the same position, it could be difficult to balance the minutes and develop them both evenly. B-. And finally, lastly at the 30th pick, from all the BS trades that Bleacher Report gave, the Pelicans somehow end up with the 30th pick, selecting KJ Simpson, another point guard. He does have good shooting, so he can space the floor, and CJ McCollum could increase his development. With the Pelicans not really being contenders, this could be the move. But again, with CJ McCollum, it doesn't make too much sense to get another guard since he probably won't get much minutes behind CJ McCollum. B-. And that's all of the first round. I expect a lot of picks to go much differently than what Bleacher Report reported, but that's my grades for their proposed draft picks and what I think each team needs. More details will be given in a later video for an off-season checklist for each team. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments, and again, thank you guys so much for all the support. Be sure to follow me on Instagram and join the Discord to stay involved with me in the community and support me more. All the links are down in the description. Thank you again for the support, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now.